Hello, and welcome to another episode of Keep It Moving Podcast. I am your host, Novelty, and joining me, as always, is Mike B.
What it do?
Nothing, yabba dabba doo to you too.
What's going on?
Not much.
Why are you so tired today?
Because I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning. Don't ask why, because I don't know. I just was up.
You got to be more in control of your body. And I feel like you are losing control. You are losing control. You're supposed to tell yourself when to wake up, when to go to sleep. I told you need some melatonin pills like they was giving them little kids at that daycare. Like, hey, it's time to go to sleep. I don't know how they woke up or how long that lasts.
Nothing.
Why?
That's going to put me to sleep.
Why?
Have you heard about all these drugs putting people to sleep, and then they get up in the middle of the night and they driving and they going places and they ain't got no idea they got nothing left their house?
The last thing we need for you to be doing
is
in your
driving
sleep
while I'm sleeping. There you go.
I be feeling like you sleep when I'm riding.
So what is stop talking me into taking drugs?
Okay. Thank you. Well, since you put it that way, I won't. That's crazy.
I was up. Woke up at 4 o'clock. It was about 4:30, I guess. It was sat there. It was like, okay, I can't go back to sleep. So,
I would have to be like anxious about something in order to just wake up that time of morning.
Every once in a while, it happens. Now, if I'm bothered or stressed out, it happens a lot. Mm-hmm. But if I'm not, and I mean, there are times when I just woke up at 4:30, didn't try my best to fall back to sleep. Couldn't, rolled over, started watching TV, got sleepy again at 8 o'clock, took a little 2-hour snooze, and then got up and hit the ground.
There is like a home remedy that'll help you get sleep. It's about like self-pleasure.
Anywho, we are moving on. I don't even know how, but anywho, what's going on with you?
Nothing. Same old.
Ready for summer?
I'm not quite sure. Like summer, winter, spring, fall. The fact that I don't do anything, they all just run together. So,
I don't do much more. I mean, I do a few things more than you, but not much. But
and I still give you noise about it.
Yes,
and you do more than me.
Yes,
we ain't talking about that though.
But anywho, so I noticed today the guy up the street was mowing his lawn. I'm not ready for that. And I got to ride.
Yeah.
I still ain't ready for that. No. But he was mowing his lawn, and I'm like, why are you mowing? It's been cold. We've had a few hot days here and there. Yesterday, the sun finally came out.
Yeah, it felt good yesterday, too.
Yeah, it felt good yesterday. It was about 60 degrees yesterday. Today, this morning, it felt real good.
Yeah.
But by about 2 o'clock, the temperature started to drop. It's cold as hell out there now.
I said you got your big bubble coat on today.
Yes, my big coat. I was like, they talking about snow tomorrow. I was like, what is going on?
It don't make no sense. But what can you do? And it's about to be April 1st.
Yes.
Easter. What you doing for Easter?
I will go over to my mom's. Hang out with
y'all
my
have
nephews.
Church service at your mom's house?
No.
I'm just giving you.
I will go over to my mom's. Hang out with my nephews.
Y'all doing an Easter egg hunt?
Yes. We'll dye eggs and then hide them around the house. My nephew they went to a little community Easter egg hunt today. And my 3-year-old nephew was so excited he was going to find the eggs. He was prepared. He had been practicing.
So this time he knew what to do.
Yeah, he'd been practicing. He was ready. And then the Easter bunny came out.
For some reason,
Game
a lot of kids are afraid
home.
of the
Take
Easter
me
bunny.
home now. He wasn't and would not leave my mama's side.
I saw a video on Facebook of some kids like at school, and the Easter bunny came in. They had to be like in kindergarten or something like that. They started screaming. They did not have time for that little white bunny.
Nope.
So I'm wondering, are parents not talking to their kids about what Easter is or about the Easter bunny, like the pagan or even like the church version?
Some little kids are like that with Santa Claus, and he ain't a bunny. He's just a man in a suit. I think
it's all that red. That confuses them.
I don't know. With little kids, you just don't know how they're going to react.
But these were school age kids.
Well, no, my nephew's 3, so
I can understand that.
You got to give him a little bit.
Does
of
he
time.
know words?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He knows words. He gets treats when he goes. He potties in the pot. He gets a treat. So now my mom says she's going to get him a T-shirt that says "I poop for candy."
This is the worst.
Because if he wants candy and you tell him no, he goes to the bathroom, sits on the toilet, and he pushes and pushes until he gets something out. And whether it's a little pebble or whether it's more, he says, see, I pottied. Now give me my candy.
All that just for some candy. He gonna be done, like, hurt himself on the inside.
I'm like, he gonna have hemorrhoids trying to get candy.
Yeah, straining, and he's 4 years old. Y'all gotta give him some preparation H. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, but I guess that's their world.
Why don't they like make him believe that like carrots are candy? You know,
He likes carrots.
Well, that's a treat. Why don't you just give him?
No,
some...
he wants candy. Okay. He ain't stupid.
So not only does he know words, he ain't.
I mean, he ain't stupid. He likes lentils and carrots and broccoli. Because my mom doesn't. When it comes to dinner, my mom doesn't do the eating out a lot.
The fast food.
My mom knows my little sister's not gonna give them food healthy food. So all she feeds them is lentils, and my mama feeds them old lady food. That's what I call
tell
it.
you what a lentil tastes like. I've heard of it, and I thought it was like one of those biblical foods that like it's mythical to me.
Go have dinner with my mom.
No, thank you. It don't sound like anything.
Them.
Is it like beans?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay.
She keeps them in the freezer.
But what's the point? Why not just eat beans?
They're healthy. They're healthier than meats.
Okay.
And so she makes sure they get a good dose of healthy.
Your mama real skinny too, so I can see her eating lentils.
Yeah, she eats lentils and beans and broccoli. So he likes all of that stuff. He eats fruit, but he wants his candy too. He ain't stupid.
Right on.
You know what candy tastes like.
It reminds me of you making your bean pies. Those I won't call them bean pies. When you first started, they were like half and half pies.
They were bean pies.
No.
And when I first started, I used the original recipe. When I switched it up, when I started eating healthy, and I didn't use butter, I used margarine. And when you use margarine, it doesn't. When it cooks,
it separates. Yeah, and it looked
gross
all.
It
as hell.
It didn't.
It was
two-tone.
Like
2 different colors. That's all.
Yes, I said it looked like half and half.
Anywho, it tastes good. You was a chicken. You won't eat. You won't even try it. That's what kills me. You won't try
you see something that's supposed to be one color.
Okay, but it's
over
one color
half
now.
of it.
Wait a minute. That was years ago. It's one color now because I went back to using butter.
But I'm not a bean pie connoisseur.
You wouldn't know if you're a bean pie connoisseur because you've never had it.
I've seen your product.
You've seen 2, 4, or 5 different versions of my product. I change up all ingredients all the time when I'm cooking.
You know, I have to. Ever since you gave me those wheat noodles and that macaroni and supposed to be macaroni and cheese. Ever since you've done that, I can't trust what you say.
That was my first shot at making macaroni and cheese with whole wheat noodles. I didn't realize the cheese was gonna run away from the noodles.
Yeah.
And it didn't. I mean, it didn't come out right.
Didn't.
I've never made it again.
Good.
But
you learned your lesson.
That was like 20 years ago, and you still hold on to it.
I can't let it go.
Learn how to let things go. Do you know how much you miss out because you can't let it go?
No. Now you made a pork chop with it. That pork chop was good.
Come on.
You did a good job.
Hold on to your ears. Come on. And woosah.
Oh, I'm calm.
Woosah. Let it go. Woosah that bean
don't
pie
trust
right
you.
on out of your head.
I don't trust you just
Try
yet.
it.
One of these days.
Try it. My favorite dessert. I don't know about you. But I made a chocolate parfait the other day.
Really?
Thought that looked good.
Oh, that's the picture that you sent.
Mm-hmm.
That did look good.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was, but very good.
My first shot out at a chocolate parfait.
Did it taste good?
It was a little too chocolatey for me. But
because you eat dark chocolate. See, you all the way wrong.
That's
why I don't trust you.
Healthier than
it may be healthier, but
chocolate.
when you cook it for me, I'm not asking for anything.
But
healthy.
I'm not cooking for you. Oh my God!
I'm saying if you're gonna try to tell me to taste something, you need to cook with me in mind. I don't need no wheat this and wheat that or fat free this. No, I want all the seasons, all the flavor.
Say wheat noodles give you beer belly.
Oh, really?
So I started using gluten-free noodles.
Oh, okay.
They're supposed to be a little bit better, and they taste just like regular noodles to me.
Well, but your palate is different at this point.
The wheat noodle never bothered me either. So
exactly. So you're the problem.
No, I'm the healthy one. I'm the one that's going to be in my 50s and 60s without a colostomy bag.
Right on.
You going to have one, and I feel sorry for whatever woman
has to clean me.
Because that's gross.
It sounds gross. How did you go there?
Because that's why I eat healthy. My uncle got sick. My uncle cook his tail off. He eats fattening food his entire life, stuff with heavy saturated fats and this, that, and the other. That's the way he's eating. 50-something years old, goes to the doctor because he's feeling pains. They find out his intestines is messed up. They're starting to talk to him about having to use a colostomy bag. Ever since that day, I was like, nope. I started eating healthier.
Right, because you're close to that age too, so
it's my ass.
It's the time to start thinking about stuff like that.
It's always the time.
Yes, ma'am.
This is what I think. If you start with little bitty things early, just a little switch. Go from milk chocolate to dark chocolate. So the only time I'll have something with milk chocolate is if I'm out and I buy something, or if I'm at a party.
And they have like some cookies or something.
But if I make it, I just make it with dark chocolate. I ain't got to make it for you that way. Just say, hey,
you're not.
You know, I want you to make me one of those, but make it with regular chocolate. That's all you got to say, and I'll do that. That's not a problem.
You have to tell me all the ingredients, because we need to discuss what else you're putting in there. It ain't just the dark chocolate.
God. Anywho. But that's what I do. I start with little things, okay? I'll make a switch here, and a couple of years later, I'll make another change, and a couple of years later, I'll make another change. That way, when I'm 70 years old and they say, you got high blood pressure, you got this, you got that, you got to stop eating all of this, I don't have to cut like the world out immediately.
Which will make it harder to transition, for something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you think about my uncle, when he went in and had that happen, they told him he had to completely change his entire diet. It was very difficult.
Right.
You see them men on TV, they got high blood pressure and they still sitting there eating a pack of bacon a day, and it's like, okay, you're going to have a heart attack. And you're going to have a heart attack, but I want my bacon. I just do it slowly.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I don't want to talk about this no more.
You the one brought it up. You should have brought it up. Learn how to eat healthy.
One of these days.
Yeah, you going to be dead.
Well, I think we all going that way.
You going to be dead before me.
Anyway.
And I'm older and female. I should have.
Hey, don't wish that on me.
You go before me.
Anyway. Are we ready?
How was your week?
My week, I ain't do nothing special. Just busy at work. That's it. No stories. I said the same thing when me and JT recorded yesterday. I'm like, I ain't got nothing's going on. It's just
you ain't had a good grandma story in a while.
I feel like I did have, because I saw her last week and I had a story, but I don't remember what the story is.
You should interview her for the show one day.
She always tells me, because she believes that she's funny too. She always says you should just secretly, she tells me to secretly record our conversation, because we be having a good time when I'm over there. So she says, we could be rich. We could be rich right now. You should have been recording what I was saying. Oh, okay. And if I would actually record what she would throw a potato, she'll cuss me out. She just talking. Well, she is funny.
You should record her. She told you to secretly
She told me
do
to
it.
Until she finds out that I did it.
You ain't got to tell her.
I know. But anytime I touch my phone, she asks, what you doing? Get off that phone. You supposed to be visiting me,
Well, that's true. You should be
I do.
And not touching your phone.
And we have ourselves a good time. I don't like the fact that now when I go over there, I have to cook my own breakfast. She used to cook.
Oh, she not cooking
She
for
ain't
you no more?
She'll wash the pots and all that, and then we'll be talking, and I'm just sitting there waiting. She'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm supposed to be cooking, ain't I? And how many eggs do you want? I tell her. Then we start talking. She start talking about something else, about the Inquirer or something on the Examiner, something in the news. And I'll be like,
want you to get her to stop reading those daggone magazines.
She won't. And every time she reads, she takes it as gospel. Start asking me questions about it, like I should know. I'm like, that it's not real. But what can you do? This is her entertainment. So we watch reality TV and ratchet TV shows. She reads the Inquirer.
That crap.
I definitely read it. Well, watch it.
Well, y'all can have it, and I guess she can have that Inquirer. You got a bae for me?
I do. This week we are, for Black Achievements in Excellence, we are awarding Michael Brown of Houston, Texas. And this is a 17-year-old that you also sent me this story today. He applied to 20 different colleges and was accepted by all 20. Not just accepted, also got full scholarships to all 20 colleges with an additional $260,000 of scholarship offers. And I'm like, I'm going back to when I was in school, applying for, college applications, applying for scholarships, and they'd be like, we'll give you like $1,500 a semester. We'll give you $2,000. Brother man got full rides to 20 different colleges plus $260,000.
Jesus.
And I'm like, I couldn't even get a phone call.
Got a car and a house.
Oh my goodness.
And a full ride to school, and I would take every last one of them.
And, he was saying, it's something that he's actually proud of because he's seeing his hard work paying off. Determination is paying off. All the sacrifices he made starting to pay off. But he made it a point to mention, I think this is the Huffington Post that I read this in. He made it a point to mention that he said it's important to highlight that I'm not the only student of color who is achieving. So he's humble as well. Good and that's what I like about that.
Good for him.
So shout out to 17-year-old Michael Brown from Houston, Texas.
You better move your ears.
I am. I'm glad you kind of pulled back from the mic too. When I was editing the last show, I'm like, oh Lord, this lady, you got some pipes. You got some pipes on you.
Cool,
yeah, shout out to Michael Brown.
Cool. Well, let's start out with kids. They marched for their lives.
March for our lives.
It was beautiful. It was so many young people there. So many people there, but. This is
young people and people they're the ones who are driving this right now.
I love it. I love to see young people get involved. And have you seen the black students from
Stoneman Douglas or something like
that?
Yes. I think that's the name of it, but
yeah, they are
the Parkland students. Yeah.
Yes, they are starting to speak now, and they are wanting to put focus on police violence as well.
Right.
While we're having this discussion about gun control and everything, police violence, and because they feel like they are being left out of the story. So
and
they're
even
bringing
some of
that to
the
forefront.
Parkland students that are like the faces of this movement, they're also mentioning we also have black students that are a part of this thing as well.
I've seen
even
that.
though the media doesn't really talk to them as much. They're still there. We support them. They support us. This is a movement for all of us. So their voice should be heard as well.
I like to see the camaraderie, the connection. They know. One student even said, we have to use our white privilege to make sure black voices get heard. And I'm like, these are not stupid kids.
Right.
I mean, this is what I've heard and I've seen my entire lives. Children are not stupid. They see things, they understand things, they have opinions. And some of them are, I want to say they're all valid opinions. Some of them are educated. Some of them are opinions that just need a little bit more life experience. But they are all very valid. And these young people are just bringing it to the front, and they're ready to vote, and they're getting out, and they're doing their civic duty. And I'm just like, woohoo! I love it.
Because you see them fired up. And these are the people, believe it or not, these are the people that are going to be running this country one day.
Right.
And you don't know if you're going to be around to see it. But I like to see this change and this fire in them.
Right.
That's
and I love
for something
to see
positive.
The fact that they are aware
Right.
of how government affects their lives.
Right.
And unfortunately, the only way we saw this is because 17 people had to die.
Right.
And they had to experience a tragedy. But they taking that and they are turning that into something beautiful. And I love that.
And we got so many Congress people and just older people who don't want to listen to these young people because just like when we were raised, you stay in a child's place, this is an adult conversation. But we live in a day and age where if I have a platform, if I got a cell phone or Facebook page,
got a voice.
I got a platform, I have a voice, and I can use it to push whatever agenda I feel benefits me. And if saving my life is an agenda that benefits me, I'm going to do it. Right. And they're actually out here doing it. And if we see people twerking, we see people doing all this other crazy stuff, using their platforms for whatever. Why not use your platform to do something positive?
Well,
and that benefits other people as well.
Well, since we are having this discussion and everybody's now really looking at gun control, I think there is a portion of this argument that has not been said. And this is unfortunately Gary kind of take me to the other side, but not really. But there's a portion of this argument that hasn't been spoken. We talk about gun control, and a lot of people want the Second Amendment repealed.
I've been hearing that yet.
For me, that's not acceptable. It cannot be repealed. And this is why. Have you ever actually read the Bill of Rights?
When I was in school, yes.
Okay. Do you remember what they said?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Do you remember the full right, or the full amendment 1?
The freedom of speech?
Yes, that's what we say.
That's
right
what we
there.
narrow it down to.
But do you remember what it said?
If I don't remember,
that's what I'm asking. So,
Yeah.
But the Second Amendment is the right to bear arms, but you don't know what the actual amendment says. And I think that's one of the biggest problems in this argument. Well,
I think we discussed this about the reason that it was put in there is so we can, if the government tries to come and take over, we can fight back.
And and that's the biggest thing. We have to remember why it was written. A lot of people think the Constitution is ancient. It should be amended. The Constitution is ancient. And when they sat down and they wrote the Constitution, they created a way for it to be amended over time because they knew life would change, things would change, and the Constitution would need to be adjusted. But here's the thing I really want everybody to remember. Amendment 1, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Mm-hmm. That's the First Amendment. That very First Amendment gives us our rights in this country. It gives us our freedom. They wrote the First Amendment to give us our freedom. They wrote the Second Amendment to protect that freedom. The Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The Second Amendment was written to protect the First Amendment. If we get rid of and repeal the Second Amendment, we have now removed our ability to protect
the First Amendment.
The First Amendment. Now, 10 years ago, you'd have said this to me, and I'd have been like, so what? But we got an idiot in office who has already shown that he wants a dictatorship. If you don't agree with him, he fires you. He talks about you. He wants to completely end your company. He wants to end your career. Look at what he did to the guy in the FBI, firing him 2 days before he got his retirement.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of person we have in the White House right now. If we didn't have the ability to protect our Constitution the way we have it, he would be able to do whatever he wants right now.
But he is doing whatever he wants right now.
Yeah, but even though we keep saying he's doing whatever he wants right now, it could be so much worse.
Yes, it could.
Let's be real. It could be.
It could.
Bad. But that's what I'm saying. It's bad now.
Yeah.
It could be so much worse if it was up to him. So we don't want to forget why these things were put there.
But I don't know if that conversation is the main conversation.
No, I don't think it's not the main conversation, but people are bringing it up. And I've been hearing it a lot lately. Let's just repeal the Second Amendment. That's why we can't repeal it. Now, can it be adjusted? One, we don't let kids drive cars. We don't let kids drink. We don't let kids smoke. Why? Because we feel like they need to be older and they need to understand a bigger responsibility. I don't have a problem with creating an age limit to bear arms.
Right.
That makes sense to me. But to repeal
and that's what a lot of people want too.
Right. That's not a problem. To repeal the entire amendment is crazy.
Right.
Now, an unfit person does not need a gun. They just don't need one. So I understand, okay, let's put in some legislation there. But we just have to be careful. That's all I'm saying. It's going to take both sides sitting down at the table and finding the middle on this so we do not tear up what our Constitution was trying to protect. That's all I'm saying.
Right. And I totally agree with you. But I don't think that, especially when it comes to Congress, I don't think repealing the Second Amendment is a conversation that they're going to have at all. Considering the fact that they don't want to bring to the table a conversation about gun control, period, repealing the Second Amendment definitely won't be on there because of the way that this particular president is. He's making it seem. Remember when they were campaigning, he kept coming saying Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama is coming after your guns, and everybody was like, they're going to take our guns. But he didn't do none of that.
Right.
That wasn't even the conversation. But every time we had a situation where somebody shot up a movie theater or somebody shot up a school, he would say, this is why we need to have gun control, sensible gun control.
Right. And that's all I'm saying. In order for us to have sensible gun control, it's going to take both sides coming to the table.
Yes,
and,
that's true. Yes.
Right here, I'm saying, let's stop looking at Congress, because Congress is not setting an example for nobody right now. None of them are. We need to start having these conversations at home. We need to start having these conversations in our neighborhoods. We need to start having these conversations with our neighbors first, and then start finding a middle ground with us so we can take it to Congress and start to force Congress to do what we want. But right now, we all over the place, because Johnny over here think you're trying to take his guns. Becky over here think nobody's talking. But in order to fix and come to a resolution here, we have to sit down and we have to have a discussion. Otherwise, all we gonna have is Clinton signing the 3 strikes rule again, and then looking back 20 years later saying, oh my God, I wish I wouldn't have done that. So that's my concern. I don't want us to look back 20 years later and say, that was there for a reason. Oh my God, why did I do it? And nobody's talking about why the Second Amendment is in place. They just talking about the problems. Let's realize it was put in place for a reason, and let's try to protect what it was trying to protect. But at the same time, make changes so children can go to school. I'm not opposed to schools having metal detectors. I'm not opposed to stores and Walmarts and movie theaters. You got to go through a metal detector. I'm not opposed to that by any means.
Right.
You liable to see a metal detector at my door when you come over. I'm not opposed to that at all.
And I feel like stuff like that, making suggestions like that, to me seems, it may not be as easy as I think it is to implement. But to me, it would seem, if Congress would say, we vote to movie theaters, like big public events, like stadiums or stuff like that, they have metal detectors, not just people wanding you down, but actually, metal detectors.
Metal detectors and bomb detectors, for that matter, too.
If they would take the first step and do that, right, that would calm a lot of people down, and we would believe that, even though NRA is paying you and you guys are pushing for everybody to buy guns or whatever, you're still also looking out for the people that you're supposed to be out here speaking for, your constituents. You care that they don't want to lose their lives, whether they want a gun or not. You care about the fact that they also want to live.
Right. There you go.
And
I want to make
the way that I live shouldn't be that I have to buy a gun in order to be ready to kill somebody, because not everybody wants that on their conscience. Not everybody wants that responsibility to bear arms. And, because a lot of times when you have a gun, it seems like any opportunity to use it, it seems like everybody wants to try you at that point. And I think
that's the other thing. Education needs to come with it. Instead of removing all of these checks and balances that they had in place, you should have to take that class. And that class shouldn't be 8 days long. It should be 8 weeks long. You should have to watch videos of people getting shot up. You should have to understand what happens when a bullet hits a body and how it affects the body. You should actually have to understand all of this stuff, because with carrying a gun comes carrying a humongous responsibility.
Yeah, because somebody's life is in your hand at that point.
A lot of people's lives are in your hands. And that responsibility should be really put out there and put up front. Yeah, you got a responsibility. You got the right to bear arms. You got the right to bear arms because you got the right to gather together in case the government says, okay, we going to take over and y'all got to do what we say. And now you got your guns and you can say, nah, you going to do what we say like you supposed to. You got that right. But you also have a responsibility to protect children. You have a responsibility to protect your neighbor. You have a responsibility. With, what is that saying? With huge power comes huge responsibility.
It's something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Like great power, I think. And like if there were any time in my life where I felt like the government might try something, it's right now.
Right now. So I want my gun. I'm sorry.
It's right now.
That's what made me go get mine. I was like, oh, Trump, nope. Let me go get it.
Anyway.
So, okay, so let's go and move on to something social. Facebook. What the hell is going on?
Yeah, they've been in the news a lot lately.
Okay, so a few years ago, Cambridge Analytica went in and put out some kind of little
Facebook
one
quiz.
of those little quizzy things you do, and people went on there. Oh yeah, I'm gonna go in there and do that. And whenever you do anything on Facebook, the first thing that pops up is this little warning that tells you, you giving this person permission to your friends, your profile, your this, your that, da. People buy. Oh yeah, sure. I still want to take this quiz because I want to know whose nose I got.
Which member of Destiny's Child am I?
What my booty look like? Stuff like that.
What I'm gonna look like as an adult, or all that.
What
all
my
that
baby with Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch gonna look like? I mean, just stupid stuff. Okay, and for people who don't know who he is, that's Mark Wahlberg.
Oh, Marky Mark. But it's entertaining for people that just are constantly on Facebook,
and that's fine.
Yeah, that's fine.
If that's what you want to do, that's fine. But see, what Cambridge Analytica did is they took their information and then started digging down into mine.
And well, what I was understanding is you said into yours.
Yes.
Oh.
Because if you my friend and you the one wanted one of them silly little quizzes, they digging down into my information now. So all of this is coming up, and now Cambridge Analytica is creating ads, creating slogans for Trump to win based on what's on my Facebook page. And I ain't said yes to nothing.
Right.
So there's huge problems here. There are privacy problems all over this. And I'm ticked off at Facebook for one reason. Because Facebook, I'm sure, gave the warning. Every time I go on the Facebook and look at something, I see that warning and I'm like, well, nope, I'm not doing that. And so I move on. Somebody done said, yeah. So Facebook gives those, hey, we getting ready. They're going to have access to this, that, and other. Facebook did their part in the beginning, but they didn't do their part on the other end. When they found out it happened, they didn't bother to tell anybody. This was 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. They didn't bother to say anything. That's my problem.
They also
with
didn't
Facebook.
bother to say anything about those Russian campaigns.
Right.
So why would they?
It's like they taking funny money.
I ain't telling on me.
It's like they take it. They're willing to take the money. That's where I have a problem. It's like, okay, your ethics are not off, and you need to be regulated by more so an ethics committee. And the only ethics committee that's going to regulate you is you. Where's your morals here? Problem with them. Cambridge Analytica, on the other hand, they're a marketing company. Now, I'm a marketer, but as a marketer, I'm not going to lie to you. That's me. I stand on that moral platform. I'm not going to lie to you. If I want you to buy something, I'm going to find a way to try to sell it to you, but I'm going to use the truth. Right. Now, that might mean, I might be number one at the best socks. But I might just tell you, hey, I was rated number one.
Okay.
It's a lie of a little bit of omission.
Yeah.
But it's still the truth. They did blatant lies. And so I got a problem with too. But the people I got a problem with most is that friend that went on there and did that daggone quiz and wasn't reading. Reality is, in this day and age, it's almost impossible to protect your privacy.
Right.
And
especially if you have an online presence, period.
Right. And I went in to see what all Facebook knew about me. Luckily, I don't Facebook that often. So Facebook's information on me was completely off. They said that I lived in a city all by myself. I had no family nowhere near me. All kind of crazy stuff. I'm like, yeah, this ain't true. So I just left it there. Right. You want to try to sway my boat? You can't sway my boat with this information. Mm-hmm. So, but for other people who use Facebook more often, I'm sure it has a lot more information about them and a lot more accurate information. You are in control here. You can't control everything.
Right, but I'm sure you have people on your friends list on their timeline. They share everything
and about their life.
Even not without having to take this quiz, if you just friend request somebody,
right,
you know everything about them because they share all this stuff.
Or everything about that lie they've told about their life. One or the other. I got people, every trip they go on, there it is on Facebook. Every time they get ready to go, go in here. I'm like, okay, so I can go to your house and rob you today because you're not there. That's people. That's how people use Facebook. Criminals, I would say. That's how they use Facebook. I just don't. So some of it is you need to control you. Right. I can't really get mad at a company because you don't control yourself.
And then I was hearing like some of the questions, like even during the quiz, some of the questions they were asking didn't have anything to do with the quiz. It was more personal and maybe just trying to under the guise of we need to like pinpoint exactly, like I said, which Destiny Child character fits you. So they would ask you more personal questions about yourself, and people were willingly giving them this information and not saying, wait a minute, like, why would you want to know my mother's maiden name? Why would you want to know the last four of my social?
Wait a minute. That information you shouldn't give up anyway to nobody unless you filing for a credit card or something.
Yeah.
Because the only place that really asks you for that information is like where you're trying to get a line
banking
of credit.
Institutions, yeah.
Banks, you trying to get a new utility. You ask me for my social security number. You ask me for my mama's maiden name. I'm going to say why.
Right.
Why? You ask me for my first pet's name. Why? That's a crazy question to me.
Right.
So you got to be careful about what you share and who you share with. And it's not just online, because the reality is marketing companies have been able to sell your information forever. That's why you got telemarketing calls. That's why you get junk mail, because as soon as you
easier
move,
now.
Yeah, well, no, the thing is, it's easier now, but as even before the internet, as soon as you moved, you had to register that with the post office. Yeah. So they can send you your address. Right.
your new mail, your new junk mail.
There you go. And the moment you registered with the post office was able to sell your address. The moment you register your phone number with AT&T, they're able to publicly pass out your phone number unless you tell them not to.
Yeah. Put in an good old, remember the phone books?
Unlisted.
No. Do you remember the phone books?
Yeah, I get them. I still?
Really?
Yeah, they still deliver.
Well, I forgot. You one of the 10 people in America with a landline.
Oh, yeah. I guess that probably is why they deliver them.
Ain't nobody. Like, they deliver them here, but they just, like, bring, like, 30, just drop them off in the, like by the post office for people to pick up, because they just know this is an apartment complex, assuming that people want them. But don't nobody use a phone book no more. We used to use it for toilet paper, but you know that's a different story for a different day.
Oh, and it's gonna be a talked about story at some point. But I mean, it's just be careful what you're doing, because there are things you cannot control. You can't control your information being shared. But when here's one: when you do the DNA tests,
the ancestry, like the ancestry DNA or whatever,
nobody thinks about what happens to my sample after,
and who has access to my sample after,
and who has ownership of it. So, and here somebody's got your DNA. That's a whole nother story. They can clone another you. You know, people don't think about this. Right. But now there are ways to opt out, but even still, you can opt out of something, but that don't mean
that they have to.
They're going to.
Because how you going to know?
Right. So it's like you just got to be careful now with what you do.
Right.
Because it's so much easier now, but the practices have been in place forever. And the way this stupid man is removing regulations.
It's the craziest. It's like we want to remove this regulation so people can dump bullshit into the water. Like, what sense does that make?
Here's the best one. You know, he changed the tax code, and all these big companies getting a break on taxes, right? But he mad because Amazon don't pay enough tax. What the hell?
We're seeing that he has a personal vendetta against
Amazon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if you don't leave Amazon alone, we need to make sure they pay sales tax. I got to pay sales tax to Amazon. I don't know about every other state. I don't think you all do.
Yeah.
Missouri has to pay sales tax.
And I feel like it's
leave
the
Amazon
state,
alone.
It depends on the state too. Sometimes that the product is, or the seller is selling in, whether sales tax is tax. So they might push that payment onto you.
He's trying to force a federal tax. He wants to stop him from using the U.S. Post Office. And I'm like, really, dude? Nobody else uses the post office.
So he's trying to bankrupt.
You're getting ready to bankrupt the post office. Now they talking about privatizing the VA. What the hell? These people don't get care as it is. You put it in private hands, they're really not going to get care. He just kills me. Moving on. I'm changing the subject.
Right on. I'm with you.
Stephon Clark.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to begin, how to begin. The Sacramento Kings are doing the right thing. This one is a cell phone.
Well, we've seen it with nothing. You know, there was nothing there. And the police officers still feared for their lives.
And they turned off their radio.
Yeah, somebody told them to, because they knew this shit wasn't right. But, you know, it's another day, another black person gunned down by the police.
And this fool in the White House says, "Oh, well, that's a state matter."
Well, why would you expect them to say anything different?
Because it was a world matter when Kaepernick took a knee.
He's black though.
He was hollering and screaming, "We got to protect the police," wanting to send the feds into Chicago.
Yeah, he's the law and order president. Remember, he's trying to be the law and order.
Matter.
Yeah.
And then Alton Sterling's the cop that shot him gets off.
Yeah.
At least they were smart enough to fire him.
Right.
At the least. And then there's Brandon Flood. Have you heard about Brandon Flood?
I have not. I'm like, this is a name that's new to me.
Well, Brandon Flood was pulled over by the police. Remember, we had this discussion of what you should do when you pulled over by the police, and you said, "Why should I have to?" And I said, "Because we want you to come home."
Yeah, we've had the discussion, but then after the Philando Castile situation, I feel like, him complying, saying everything he needed to do, doing everything, and still being shot because the police officer feared for his life.
Well, this is what Brandon Flood did.
What did he do?
He gets pulled over by the cops. Cops said he smelled weed. Whether he did or not, no, I don't know. I can't smell the video.
Okay.
But he tells him to get out the car. Brandon Flood says, "Why?" He says, "Get out the car." Brandon Flood puts his car in reverse and hits his gas. A constable. You know what a constable is?
No, but I believe now that you mentioned this, I think I heard this story.
A constable is you know how you've got the firefighters that volunteer, the volunteer fire,
like a public service.
Well, a constable is a volunteer policeman.
Okay.
Meaning he has not been through training, he ain't been through no education, he don't work for the force. He just volunteering his time. He the guy around the corner, don't have nothing to do. He gonna go work for the police department on his spare time.
Yeah, he was on and with a ride along or something, right?
Yeah. And he decides that when the guy shoots his brakes, the policemen just keep telling him to stop because according to their captain, they're not supposed to shoot at a moving vehicle because it's too many people who could get hurt as far as bystanders. So they're not shooting. This fool pulls out his gun and he starts shooting. He shoots Brandon Flood 3 times. Brandon Flood goes to the hospital. So this man now is fired and they trying to figure out.
Who is this man?
I don't even know his name.
No, I'm saying the police officer, the constable. Okay.
He's been let go, and now they're trying to figure out if charges are going to be brought against him for shooting. Because you got an itchy trigger finger.
It doesn't even matter. If you're on for a ride along, the one thing you should be doing is taking directives from the person whose job this is.
Why do you have a gun if you a volunteer?
Well, the reason I'm sure he's there is because he has a gun and he has an itchy trigger finger.
Well,
this is not surprising to me.
And so what really got me is this whole volunteer police officer thing. So I went to see how many states had this. Just about every state has it. Both Kansas and Missouri have it. And these are the things that a volunteer just in the Kansas City metro area can do. They can work for records and clerical stuff. I'm okay with that. They can help in investigations in clerical. I need more information on what they investigate.
Right, because unless they're signing some type of privacy paperwork, I don't need them looking into me for nothing.
Right. Fleet maintenance. I'm real good
what does
with
that mean?
They fix the cars.
Okay, I'm like fleet maintenance.
I'm good with that. Facilities maintenance. They fix the building. I'm good with that. That's a good place to put some volunteers. Community outreach, and recruiting. To some degree, I'm cool with that. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. Traffic control and special events. Special events.
Those are like, but I could understand that. The police being understaffed or whatever, needing somebody to help at a NCAA tournament that's in town, Sprint Center.
You don't need no gun, but you can help out.
Right.
You can call for backup.
And you can have a taser maybe or something. But you should also have a licensed police officer near you that you answer to, that you get directions from.
Right. But traffic and control, no, I'm not okay with that. I'm not okay with my next door neighbor being able to do that legally.
Well, like when I hear that, I think of, when the stoplights go out, then you have that one officer in the middle of the street just trying to direct.
No, that's not what they doing.
You said traffic control. I said I hear that.
I said traffic and control.
Oh, I thought you said traffic control.
No, it's not one word. It's traffic and control. So that's what this constable was supposed to be, traffic and control. Yeah, my problem. That's my problem with that. This was a traffic stop. Yeah. That's what.
But what about the part where you could shoot? Read that part.
It don't say you can shoot, but you got a gun. So, and then the last is citizen patrol. And
that's an issue.
watch.
I feel like the police department needs to be dealt with because they allowed this citizen.
Right, their citizen should have never had a gun.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You know, now I'm with you.
And
he
then,
can stand in the middle
even
of the
if he
street
does have a gun,
traffic.
there should have been something in place to where he knew that you can't. This is not your job. This is my job. You do what I say do, and you help me when I ask for help.
Shouldn't have had a
you
gun.
observe otherwise.
He shouldn't have.
And so, well, I hear you.
He should have been like you said, out in the middle of the street directing traffic, and that's about it.
But then too, that's just like you having a gun. You have a carry license, conceal and carry license.
I have a gun, but I don't. You have a gun and run around talking about I'm with the police department.
No. You don't
That's
say
the
that.
difference.
You are with the police department. You're riding along, but that's what I'm saying. They should have had something in place to where that particular guy knew that if anything goes down, then you are to step back and only take direction from the licensed police officer.
But even if I was riding along with the police department, my gun should have been at home. Or at least in my car. I do not think a volunteer needs to be riding along with the police department and have a gun. I don't.
Yeah, I understand.
And have a gun
I
and
don't
the
have
ability
I don't have
to shoot
the,
it.
the problem with that. I don't think that's my issue. The fact that he decided to take matters into his own hands and stop, his way, instead of observing and seeing, well, okay, if he's not shooting his gun, why am I shooting my gun? He's the one that works for the police.
Right.
But then maybe he felt like, you know what, if I do it, well, then he would.
And the whole time he walking around with his hand on his gun in the video.
He's ready to shoot again.
Ready. I'm just like, oh my God. I just.
Were you able to?
There's really nothing else. There's nothing to say. I mean, there's nothing more to say. We've said it. We've marched.
A revolution.
Because we won't get out and vote.
Well.
And when we do, when some of us do, put it that way, they start trying to jerry rig them lines.
Voting machines.
So I just don't know what else to say.
Yeah.
But I can tell you this much. White privilege better watch out. Because there's more black people, more Mexican people, more Asians, more Indians, more Jews.
But see, that may be the reason they're scared.
Privilege.
That may be the reason why they're doing a lot of what they're doing. Why the neo-Nazis are becoming a popular thing. The KKK is becoming more popular. Who would have thought in our lifetime that the KKK would resurface and start building again?
Keep messing with people. Minorities are not the minority any longer. White privilege is the minority. And the thing is, all white people are not for white privilege.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a lot of white people that want change. And with these kids coming, it might not happen right now, but these kids are getting ready to come through this door in less than 4 years. And it's a lot of them are going to be of age to vote in the next presidential election.
It's good that we are also seeing, because here lately, especially since the onslaught of 45, it's good that we are seeing, because every week it seems like we're still reading about some white person making a video or doing something, saying the N-word or putting on blackface. That is still happening. And then they act like, oh, I didn't know, I wasn't trying, I'm not a racist, I got black friends. It's still the same old crap. And so because of what we're seeing with this March for Our Lives and seeing the variety of faces, I'm glad that offsets those racist people that we see, the racist kids that seem to be building as well.
Speaking of blackface, did you see the school that did the assembly and gave the kids blackface little masks to put in front of their face?
Looking like a church fan.
And then they go say, oh, we got to teach sensitivity training. If you live in America.
This is the problem.
If you live in America and you think that that's okay in any way for a child to do, you are not educated enough to be somebody's teacher.
I agree. and then the fact
that
they
on purpose
continue to make
trying
these
to cover
excuses.
it up. Stop. That's just it.
It
just
doesn't
be
work.
blatantly honest to say, yeah, we don't like black folks.
Yeah, and did you look at the picture? Because there were also black kids holding those things too. So I was over it. I saw
what
it.
I'm
I was
wondering
over
is
it.
what happened when little Johnny went home to his black mama and said, "Hey, mommy, this is what we're doing for the assembly," because it ain't no way in hell. If I'd have known about that, I would not have gone up to that school, went off and pulled my child out of that school immediately.
Which leads me to believe that when they was going through rehearsals or whatever, they didn't have those particular faces.
Maybe
they just did the movement until the day of the performance.
I'm hoping that they didn't have that. They didn't have that knowledge. Parents didn't have that knowledge before, and not that the information was passed out and these parents just didn't go to the PTA meeting, just didn't participate in all of that, don't pay attention to what their kids are doing in school, and then got to the assembly and saw it. That's what I'm hoping.
But you also have to remember that even there are black people that don't really understand racism or see it for what it is. Remember, I think we talked about it, or it may have been me or JT, talked about when Lil Wayne did that interview saying that, he don't see racism, like he don't know what we're talking about when we, say that this person is racist. He didn't live that lifestyle, so it's different for him. So maybe those parents of those black kids that were in that assembly, they feel the same way.
Y'all need to pick up a history book. I mean, don't pick up a history book. Watch Burns and Allen. It come on early in the morning on MeTV. Come on at like 5 o'clock in the morning. It's George Burns and Gracie Allen. It's just a little sitcom.
Okay.
And the sitcom itself is not racist, but they were vaudeville actors. So they, in between takes or in between scenes, they would have somebody come out and do a little vaudeville show.
I don't know what that means.
Okay. Vaudeville was back before TV. There was vaudeville, and it was kind of theater where you would put on a little show and you might they would dance or whatever. Yeah, just little different skits.
Okay.
And so these two, this show is very, very old. It's older than me, so don't even go there. But I mean, it's like it was one of the very first sitcoms ever, and I just so happened to turn it on and I watch it because it's funny and I like it. And one day I'm sitting there and these people come out and they're dancing and they got on blackface.
Mm-hmm.
And I was brushing my teeth. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. I'm brushing my teeth and I just didn't, my mouth fell open and I was like, are you kidding me? They were in blackface.
Uh-huh.
And it just,
but you said it's an older show. Back then, that's what they did.
That's what I had to tell myself. I had to say, wait a minute, before you flip out, remember, this show was out in the 50s. I want to say 50s or very early 60s. And this was what they did back then. Mm-hmm. So I had to calm myself because I was going to call the news. I was going to call everybody. 5 o'clock in the morning, I was heated. But I had to stop and remember the time. And I don't even know if the person who put it on air, who aired it, really even knew that the skit was in there, because I saw it the one time and the next time I saw the same episode, the skit was no longer in there. So somebody noticed something.
Right.
But you got to remember, back in the day, those things were there. And so if you don't know what that feels like, go watch one of them older shows. Go Google them. They're all on Google.
Go talk to your grandparents.
There you go.
That's, how I get a little context, because my grandparents are from the South, and,
right.
getting, becoming of age and then getting to a place where I'm comfortable having conversations with my grandparents, especially my grandma, and hearing some of the stuff that she went through and the struggles being in the South, Arkansas, and coming up here, and just my grandfather, he still feels some type of way. He's respectful of white people, but he still feels some type of way about some of the stuff that he's experienced when dealing with white people. So just talk to your people,
right?
And they will help you to what went on back in the day and some of the stuff that they had to experience and endure. And it will make you understand what, Dr. Martin Luther King was fighting for. Right. What the civil rights movement was all about.
And why people still feel racism today.
Yeah.
And
it's crazy that you're black and you feel like you're privileged. You may have money or whatever, but I guarantee you, people that don't know you, one thing they do know about you is that you're black.
Mm-hmm. That's the one thing you can't hide.
Yeah, and that's the one thing most people judge you by.
And the thing that the thing that hates white people the most is an old black man.
Yeah.
I don't think it's anybody else that hates white people the most other than an old black man, especially from America, because they lived through all that bull.
Right.
So, anywho, I got us off track.
Okay.
So, Stacey Dash.
She
dashed to DC and then she dashed back home. That happened in a dash.
That was very, very fast. And see, I told you, didn't we talk about her? Running for Congress or whatever. I feel like we talked about her.
I don't know if we talked about it on the show because it just came and it was like, huh?
Okay, yeah, she was running for Congress in California, and the reason I thought that she was running for Congress is because she was counting on black folks not actually voting.
And I guess they showed her that they voted.
But it would have been one of those situations where she could have actually won because sometimes black people don't show up. And people know who she is, especially conservatives. So they would have voted for her ass. And she's out here talking about she was running because she's trying to represent the underprivileged or the people that have been like shitted on by the Democrats and trying to do things differently. And then lo and behold, like within the past 2 or 3 days, she decides that this is too much.
She dashed her asshole out of there.
And then gonna say, because of like the political climate,
she
the way it is.
Climate
she was part of the divisiveness.
Right.
So
she
all of a sudden,
she helped create it.
She helped create it. And now she's going to act like this is, I didn't know.
It's going to be such a tragedy, a tragic, what was the word she used? On her family. Her family just couldn't take it. Oh, my God. I'm so glad she's gone.
Well, she said, at this point, I believe that the overall bitterness surrounding our political process, participating in the rigors of campaigning and holding elected office would be detrimental to the health and well-being of my family.
Yada, yada, yada.
I would never want to betray the personal and spiritual principles I believe in most, that my God and my family come first. If you don't sit your old stinking ass down somewhere, like utterly clueless, I guarantee you she didn't give
perfect
two shits
for that movie.
about.
She was perfect for that.
She was, but we didn't know that. We thought she was just acting.
Yeah, we thought.
She didn't give a damn about those people.
No.
She was trying to basically further 45's agenda, and she was going to do it from the inside this time. Since Fox News decided they didn't want to see her pretty face anymore and allow her their platform to spew this type of stuff, even though that's what they do. I was shocked when she was let go and her contract wasn't renewed. I was shocked.
She getting ready to see what it's like to betray your own people.
Well, she was disinvited from the cookout a long time ago. We haven't seen it for her, and so once she started stomping for Trump, we realized where she stood.
Yep, and now she's getting ready to have to stand on her own.
And then when you come and say,
people ain't coming for her no more now.
And when you come out and say something about Auntie Maxine, and then try to blame it on like an intern or something like that. No, we know who you are. We know what you are.
Okay, so my last thing for the evening is going to be, the U.S. Census. You've heard the discussion that there are changes being made.
Yeah.
Okay. So 2020, this dumbass in the White House, because that's his new name, dumbass, is forcing an agenda that is really detrimental to people filling out the census.
And I think that's the reason that he's doing it, trying to make this change.
But understand, it is so imperative that you fill out a census. It really is, because it determines how many electorates each state gets. It determines your senators, how many House of Representatives you get. It determines how much money states get, how much money counties and cities get in federal funds to support, whether it be schools, traffic, just whatever. Mm-hmm. It determines the numbers. It's how they calculate the numbers and say, okay, this state needs this city needs this area, this district needs this. So if you're in a low-income district and you don't fill out your census, you make it look like fewer people live there.
So y'all need fewer funds.
You need fewer funds, or you need fewer senators, fewer people to represent you. So you want to fill out your census. My suggestion is you check the first box and just ignore the second box. personally right now. Now, granted, I've not looked into it, so I don't know exactly how that's going to affect how it's going to affect them counting it yet. But right now, that's my plan, because I'm going to still fill out my census. But what they're doing is, you have a category in the census where it discusses race. And most of the time that race has been Hispanic, non-Hispanic, African American, white, Asian. That's usually what you see. Mm-hmm. And that's on all government forms. Well, what dumbass is trying to do is he's going to take it and you'll say, I'm black. And then underneath black, you will specify where you came from, whether it's Jamaica, Africa, some other Caribbean area. Now, me, I have no freaking idea.
Yes, you do. You came from here.
Right. This is where that's the only thing.
Yeah.
But I'm still black. But as far as the rest, I don't know. And you're gonna come across that a lot with most black people, because the way they did us, we don't know. They purposely destroyed our heritage. They did it on purpose to control us. So a lot of us don't know where we came from. So we're not going to be able to answer that question anyway.
You can fill out that ancestry DNA.
Yeah, and I'm not doing that. So, so a lot of us aren't going to be able to fill out that second area anyway. But if you are Hispanic, you know. If you are Indian, you know what tribe you came from, because that's something that they've passed on to you.
So what does it say? Like,
it'll say like white. In it, they've got a breakdown for white people too, so they didn't get left out. But it says white, German, Italian, Irish, Polish, English, French.
Okay.
You know, everybody here outside of Native Americans are immigrants. Everybody.
What does that do for anything or anybody?
They are not. They're just saying, oh, well, we're trying to answer questions because people ask us a breakdown of this and that and the other, and we don't have the answer, so we're just trying to answer.
Ain't nobody asking. Ain't nobody asking that.
No,
they're trying to find people that they can deem illegal and try to go after that population.
And that's
I believe
highly possible, more than likely. But like Hispanics, it says Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish, and then it says Mexican or Mexican American, Salvadoran, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Cuban, Colombian. So you have to choose. And then if you're not one of them, like if you're Guatemalan, and I can't read those other two because it's blurry, this picture's too small, it's got a place for you to write what you are in there. Mm-hmm. So for black people, it's African American, Nigerian, Jamaican, Ethiopian, Haitian, or Somalian. Asian, Chinese, Philippine, Asian, Indian, Vietnamese, Korean, Japanese, American Indian, or Alaska Native. How you gonna break the American Indian down?
Right.
Are you freaking kidding me? How you gonna break the Eskimo down? Are you? What the hell?
Yeah.
Middle Eastern or North African.
So this has been like finalized to be implemented, or this is just what's on the table?
This is finalized. It's supposed to be implemented, unless I don't know if Congress has approved it yet. Congress may not have approved it yet, but this is it.
I'm gonna have to read up on this to see like really what the backstory is. 'Cause this doesn't make any sense.
They just telling you that's the backstory. They're telling you they are trying to narrow it down because the census gets requests for certain numbers of Jamaicans, certain numbers, and the census may get requests like that. I don't think that their reason is a lie. I think their reason is a cover up.
Yeah, that's dumb. Because if you don't have that information, we don't know. Move on.
Well, and that's why I say they've got to be able to allow you to skip it because, again, most black Americans have no idea.
But you know what this shows is that everybody in America is an immigrant.
Everybody in America is an immigrant. That's what it shows.
So I don't know if that's what they want to show.
I'm like, it's like proof positive that what you gonna do? Deport everybody?
Yeah, this is stupid.
Except the black people. You can't deport the black people because you made them come over here. You can't, and you know, it's funny because you can't deport a lot of Mexicans, especially Mexicans in Texas, Mexicans in California, Mexicans in New Mexico. When we bought that portion of the country from Mexico, they came with it.
Yeah.
So they here legally, but this fool here, So I want to still say that don't let this deter you from filling out your census, because your census is still one of the most important documents you fill out every 10 years. And in 2020, we are going to have another one. So be prepared for it and fill it out. But when you get to that question, check the first box, ignore the rest, or do like my grandma do.
Well, this seems like the administration that if you ignore the second portion, then
they might not count it, and they might not. But I mean, like I said, I can't answer that question.
Yeah.
And like my grandma said,
they ain't got no box where you can write in.
Well, they do.
Okay.
I'll write in. I can't answer that question because I don't know.
I'm going to write in United States of America.
Well,
that's my country of origin.
And see, that's what my grandma does over the whole thing. She just writes American. And my grandma, white as they come, but she just American. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And it shouldn't matter. I can, like I said, I understand they need numbers and they break down units for different things. And they do. I mean, that's how we get our statistics. That's how we know how many people voted and how many people did this, because the census keeps track of that.
Yeah, but this seems like an opportunity to deter people from actually filling out the census.
It is. As far as I'm concerned, it is. People are going to look at it and say, maybe I shouldn't fill out the census.
And don't they use that information to create the district lines as well? Or what do they use for that?
See, the census is supposed to participate in creating the district lines, but with the gerrymandering that's running around, Congress and little
But where do they get the information about people in the district?
Sometimes they get them from the census. Sometimes they go in and they pull the information themselves. From councilmen and senators. They know the people in their district.
I guarantee you they don't know me.
They might not know you specifically, but I guarantee
know, like, this is a black neighborhood.
Yeah,
so you want to draw around.
Yeah, so I think they have a lot more to do with it than they should right now. The census actually should determine where those lines are, but Congress, your local city and state governments have gotten involved in that in a way that they shouldn't.
Okay, but I can understand them needing to be a part of the conversation, at least, because they know the districts.
Right, they know.
They're supposed to know.
They're supposed to, but we don't feel like I know.
But when you're trying to, when you have an agenda, then that's where the problem comes in. Well, and then
you got to remember with the Russia thing. I think that everything that's going on and the fact that he's not doing anything, we know that Russia messed up around in the election. We are 100% positive of that. Everybody.
Well, Russia said that they didn't.
I don't care what Russia says. Everybody knows that except
that holds more
Trump.
Weight for some reason.
Yeah. So
than
he
all
is
of our
not
intelligence agencies
preparing for the next set of elections
because he's counting on it.
Well, but that's also going to deter people from voting. Don't let that deter you from voting. Even if you don't think your vote is going to count, get up, go vote. Get up, go vote, fill out your census. Even if you think it's not going to count if I don't fill in this line, still fill it out anyway. Just fill it out anyway.
And y'all know we're going to continue to preach that until election time.
And even after. Especially after if we stuck in this situation for another 2 years. So anywho, I'm getting off my little high horse now. Coming back down with you people. And I'm going to say goodnight because I'm sleepy. That's what happens when you get up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Right on.
You got anything else for me?
No, ma'am.
You look bored.
Oh, I'm not. I'm listening to you.
All right. Good night, y'all.
Peace.